All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Vote Expressions. I am with another longtime guest, friend of the pod, Andre. How you doing, brother?
Man, I cannot complain. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am good. Just trying to make sure the family's good for tonight while I try to do my thing.
Understood, understood.
Yeah. Um, and for those who listen, I know last time I was a little under the weather. I am feeling better right now. Um, who knew that going out during a snowstorm would get you sick, but apparently it does. But I'm feeling better now. I want to talk to Andre about everything that's been going on, catch up with what he's been doing lately. I know he's been going around big speaker energy, and also talk about there's been uh, a switch in power here in the United States. We've had a new president seated and more anti everything energy, including uh, people being put in charge of education who don't even know what all the programs mean. So, so much for merit based hiring. But first of all, Andre, how you doing? What's been going on with you since last time we spoke?
Yeah, man, life is good. Life is busy. Life is full of swift transitions. And now I have a senior in college and a freshman in college. So, yeah, life is good. It feels good to be empty nest. Empty nest is pretty dope. But you miss the noise in the house, you know? You miss hearing some of the giggles and the laughter or the running in the house or the sounds of the music or whatever podcast or streaming that they're watching. Small things like that. But yeah, man, life is good.
Well, know what you say that, but I've just been thinking because I'm so used to just messaging, like seeing you on Twitter or messaging you on Instagram. Yeah, last time we talked, my daughter wasn't born.
Yeah, yeah. Life be lifing, man. Life be
Right.
one
And
thing I
yeah,
realized is gonna keep moving no matter what. Yeah.
right. And she'll be 2 this year.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, wow, that is. I was like, oh yeah, it's like, oh, that's why I was thinking. I'm like, you have a senior in college. I'm like, I thought they were high school. It's like, oh yeah, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute, yeah. And even that, man, it feels fast where they were used to come home. And now like it's a full circle moment. So boom, good story. When my wife and I first got married, we would go and visit with people. And of course, we go visit the parents. And when we would visit the parents, they would pull out all the stops. Oh, they'd hug you. They'd try to give you 2 months of conversation in like less than an hour. And they were just so elated and happy and excited. And then both my in-laws and my mom and my dad, they said, oh, here, take some food. And they go in the pantry or they try to give us whatever leftovers that they had because they couldn't eat all of the food and all of the things. And the drive home, my wife and I would just be giggling like, wow, excited to see it. It's just us, they're trying to feed us like we don't have food in the refrigerator. We still took it. We still ate the desserts. We still ate the food, whatever. But now the full circle moment is that uh, over the weekend, both kids came home and it went from no noise in the house to back to that familiar sound. And I mean, my wife lit up. She got to hug her babies. We got to clown. All of the inside jokes that we had came back. It's no longer like parental. It is more like coach, more like counselor, more like, what do you think about, how would you best approach blah, blah, blah. They're still going to be the babies to us, but it's so funny that the conversations are much more grown, much more adult oriented. Just so dope with that. The funniest part, they're leaving, and my mom and my dad, her mom and her dad, when it was time to go, they would stand at the garage or stand at the front door and kind of walk us out to the door, walk us out to the car, and then you do the familiar wave and they leave. We found ourselves doing the same thing. We're like, you need some food? Here, take, take these leftovers. Here, take this these chicken strips. We're vegans. We don't eat chicken. Here. What else you need? Here, come take these chips. We don't need potato chips. We bought them because we knew you was coming home. Like we're doing the exact same things our parents did. And it just hit me like, oh, I get it. They missed the same noise that we missed. So it's cool to see the full circle moment, but it's also a reminder of like it's still okay to go visit your parents if you can. It's still okay to talk to them. It's still go visit them and just sit down and do nothing, watch the game to get together, whatever it may be. And it was just a real cool full circle moment, man.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sorry. Just switching devices, and it is not. It's not switching over to my headphones for some reason. Anyway, I can still talk. But no, that is interesting. Having that same have that same thing. We're trying to see about going out of town ourselves, and having that same thing of it's well, it been a little bit different because we're out of we live in a different state than her parents. So it is a thing when we come and visit because they don't get to see their grandbabies. They don't get to talk
Yeah.
to them as much. And so that is something that they you I definitely get the stuffing all the conversations into just one little bit. It's just like, it's like, oh, have you seen this? Have you been here? Have you done this? Have you done that?
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, and allowing them to see the things that we've already seen with the kids growing up. The funniest thing to me is my father-in-law being like, you see that Carl Jr.? He calls me Carl Jr. for some reason. Um, I'm not a junior in the least, but he always calls me Carl Jr. He's like, you see that Carl Jr.? You see him talking, or you see Bella? She's just running around, and so yeah, I definitely get what you mean, and I also understand what you mean in regards of when I messaged you earlier. I was leaving my mom's house, and just the conversations that her and I have, opposed to like even when I was out of high school, but still in the house, it was different then because I was working the way we were working, we were more like roommates. We would see each other in passing and whatnot. But even like now, just coming home for whatever, or not even coming home, just going to her house, bring the kids over. It is a different type of relationship. There's the things we talk about are different. She's talking to me about uh specials at the grocery store or whatever, or little stuff like that. Or we talk politics and different things. So that's you know, I get that difference. Um, but that is nice. To be able to have that quiet in the house, but then at some point you do like the occasional just come home and whatever. Um, because you miss it, but at the same time, like especially the moms, they always miss their baby at some point or the other. You know,
Yeah. And it helps me to realize, not to go like morbid here, but it just helps me to realize like there's gonna be a time that you wish that you could spend more time with them. And so for
oh,
these last 3 years, 4 years, it's literally been that. Let's go visit family. Let's go visit friends. Let's go visit the community, our elders who helped raise us. Let's just, if it's just 5 minutes to swing by to say hi, on the way or whatever it may be, but just honoring all of the people who may feel lonely. They may feel, they don't have as many visitors as they used to. Now for me, man, I'm an introvert. So put me in the house. I'm chill. I'm cool. I got I got enough movies to watch. I got enough things to do where it keeps me busy. But some of our elder community members, they may not have that. They may not really truly understand Netflix and Paramount Plus and Disney Plus and Apple TV. And like they just may genuinely want company. So just me being mindful of that and just wanting to hang out with them as long as I can, with or without them. They always ask, how are the kids? And then we show them pictures of the kids, whether it be, our elders in the community, and they say the same thing. Oh, they grow. Oh, yeah. So what are you doing? We're like, yeah, we're here with you now. We wanna spend time with you just for those reasons, man.
you saying that makes me put me in mind of my wife and I were talking about my grandmother on my dad's side. There's a local custard place, frozen custard place, that's like not far from where she lived, called Velvet Freeze.
Okay.
And she used to love it. And we were just talking, just thinking about how much she lit up when we took her um just to go there, just to have a chance to go there and treat her. And my wife was talking about it. She still trying to give us money. It's just like, no, this is us treating you. And she's
Yeah.
just like,
Oh, that's a
and
good one.
she's like, no, I got. He was like, no, grandma, put the money away.
Yeah.
And you know, um, and at the time, and this is where my guilt comes in. At the time, she really didn't live that far from me. And like you said, you is going to come a time to where you wish you can see their face or hear their wisdom or something,
Yeah.
and you're just not going to have the opportunity. And that's why you do it while you can, because at some point, all that knowledge, all that wisdom is going to be gone.
Yep.
I'm not going to be able to hear stories about who did what or what was going on. I have so many questions about my dad's side of the family
Mhm.
that I can't ask because he's gone, my grandma's gone, and I really just don't hang out with that side of the family like that.
Yeah.
And it's just a thing of just like, enjoy it while you can, because you never know.
You never know. Yeah.
But but on a lighter note, like I said, you've been doing a lot of speaking, both on other podcasts and other uh, conventions and different things. So tell us about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I'm still doing the good work. John Lewis calls it getting in that good trouble. And that's
Right.
literally what I'm doing. Still going to edu conferences and having the opportunities to talk and to speak to crowds, whether they are at the K-12 or whether they're at the collegiate level, but just having the conversations that are needed. The majority of the conversation is, how do we engage Generation Z, Generation Alpha? How do we get them career ready? How do we get them um, college ready? What can we do? Because they seem bored in our classes. They're disengaged, they don't want to be there. What can we do to best teach them? And so I shared strategies and stories and practical tips practical tips and tricks with them, just to say this is what it looks like. They, of course, sometimes they will complain and say today's students are unmotivated and they need medicine for this, that, and the other. And I'm like, not necessarily, because those same students can play Call of Duty for 7 hours or Fortnite for 12 hours and never move, or Rocket League or whatever, NBA 2K, FIBA, whatever the sport may be. Like, I've seen those students not move. So it's
Right.
not that they can't do it. It's your lessons may be boring. Your teaching style may be boring. Maybe you're not connecting and relating to them. So it's been some really good conversations the last 2 years with just that. I got back from Chicago, did the same thing, was honored to be one of the speakers there in Chicago. And sooner or later, we'll be headed to LA to serve and just give some different perspectives. So I really love that still.
That is dope. I I couldn't help but think about when well, first it made me think about just a touch of my nerdy side. It's funny because I was telling my wife I'm reading and trying to get out content for Women's Month of female heroes, and one of them I'm reading now is a black hero, a black young girl. She's 15, and she's like a protege of Iron Man. She was in Wakanda. Have you seen Wakanda Forever?
Yes.
The black girl who built the Iron Man suit.
Riri
Riri.
Williams. Yeah.
Yes,
Ironheart.
I'm reading. Yeah, I'm reading her book.
Okay.
Um, because her arc actually starts within the pages of Iron Man because he's off the table for a minute, and so it's like 3 volumes uh of her,
Mm.
and until it goes into her own, she gets her own title. Because originally she has a armor that looks pretty much like the armor he was wearing right before um he got injured, and then she comes up with something completely different, all original. It looks great.
Wow.
Um, but it is interesting because that's they have that conversation with her parents in the book, and they're just like, well, she's acting like this. Is like, well, we they thought she was in trouble. Like, no, she's just bored. We're not we're not doing anything to stimulate her.
Yeah.
And I like the way they did it because within the universe they're just like, we've seen what happens when really smart people get bored and get disinterested in human life. They flip out, and so they're just like, we need to be able to stimulate her mind. We also need you as parents to stimulate her, like for lack of a better word, heart, like to let her know that to give her all the other stimulations of a kid, so that she's not so closed out. And it is really interesting the way they write her because it does feel real. It does feel it's it does feel real. It does feel like, okay, this person is not just a gimmick. This person is like, oh no, they have an idea. And so now they've gone the whole day without eating because they
Hmm.
had an idea. And so they've rushed off to work on this thing, and they found out they haven't eaten uh, the different things with friends. Funny enough, it's also the same person who created her created Miles Morales.
Oh, okay.
Um, and he's a white guy.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, Brian Michael Bendis. I think he has an adopted black daughter though, so it may have been one of those things. But talk about being engaged. I saw and heard that a lot during this past election about how to get Gen Z and Alpha engaged. And I also saw a weird thing about how many of them were Trump supporters. Um,
Oh.
Yeah, I'll have to send you that later. But yeah, it is a thing of like how to put it. It goes to something that we've seen um, with engagement, even with adults, like how to keep people engaged, and the thing of the way that you interacted with these people is not going to be the same way that you interacted with these younger people, and how a lot of times you get in a rut of there's a lot. I'm sorry. There's a lot of different things I'm thinking about. Even with the most recent, the 1 day boycott, I watched a great conversation of this channel, Olay and Friends. They had a great conversation about why some people thought that the boycotts didn't do anything, and some that provided different context to it. And one of the points was that taking the taking the lessons of the past and saying this used to work in the past, so it worked in the past, it should be able to work now. And somebody bringing up, yeah, but we have to remember why those worked. Those were smaller in scale, which when
Yeah.
you translate it to school, classrooms were smaller sizes, so it was easier to be one on one. And it was also the fact of there was much more community based. Like it's easier to do a bus boycott in Alabama when the communities are much closer knit and you're able to talk to people more. And if somebody needs to get around, you can get somebody to work, you can set something up. Whereas opposed to now, you're trying to do a boycott of Target and all these other places in 1 day. Some people don't know why you're boycotting, some people don't know what the purpose is. And so there's just a lot of stuff going around. And to bring it back around to reaching um as I want to say reaching the youth, but I guess that's the best way I can think of it, is you have to make sure you're engaging them where they are. One
Yeah.
thing my pastor loves to say is before, even with preaching, he's like before people care what you have to say, they want to know that you care about who they are.
Yeah.
And if all they feel is that you're just trying to shove this information down them, but you don't care about anything else that's going on with them, then that's going to shut anybody down.
100% agreed there. I think that's also generational. So
Hmm.
think about like our parents, teachers. Those teachers have been around for decades. And those teachers could see us as kids and say, I used to teach your mama, you know. And so
Yeah.
they came with the clout, they came with the street knowledge, they came with knowing any and everybody. So if you were to act up in any capacity, they were 2 or 3 steps away from connecting to their people and your people to fix the problem. A lot of today's teachers, those teachers have retired. Those teachers have moved on to administration. Those teachers have quit altogether and maybe are in corporate world or maybe they're in religious worlds or whatever it may be. In today's teachers, they just haven't gained that status yet. Some of them have. Some of them have come in, and I've seen them. And those teachers got it. You walk through and do classroom observations or you have conversations with them, and you can immediately tell which ones got it. Where they engage all the students, the ones who want to just sleep, the ones who want to get up and show off their outfits, the ones who just want to slide and be on their phone all day. You can tell those teachers who know how to engage all of them. But on the other end, you can tell which teachers, which educators perhaps don't. And I think it's up to us to continue to teach them and not give up on them, or hopefully they don't quit. And I mean, there's a lot of them who are doing that now too. And I can't fault them for it. I don't know what their world is and what they go through day to day. So we try our best to encourage as much as possible to have them to keep that good fight, no matter what it may be. And that's where I come in with helping with different strategies to show them, hey, here's a way that you can engage students. Try this. And then they go for it. Like, man, the other day I was talking to talking to a high schooler. And they was like, man, we never doing Pythagorean theorem. Who used that in real life? And I was like, it's like, nobody care about no A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And I said, all right, pause. Okay, chill real quick. Have you ever been walking on a sidewalk and the sidewalk, it looks like a triangle and you have to go all the way out of the way to another sidewalk to walk in a different direction? And they're like, yeah. I said, have you ever cut through that grass to make a shortcut? And it's like, yeah. So that's Pythagorean theorem. It's like, wait, what? So yeah, I'm sure you've seen different sidewalks, and those sidewalks have they expect you to walk that path, but in your brain, you're like, I can take this shortcut and I can take this different angle and I can make a new trail or a new path. They were like, yeah. I said, there's math right there. So just once again, it's up to us to give them the application in their own words with their own way. I cannot think of the name of that when it comes to architecture real quick. It's gonna bug me now. Oh, it's gonna bug me. And watch, as soon as we finish, it's gonna pop up in my head. But yeah, there are actually engineers who use this all the time. Like they'll create a pathway in a park. And then what they'll do is that they'll realize that people have made a new trail or a new pathway to get to a certain spot. And that is something that is called something. But in reality, that is the Pythagorean theorem. It's gonna bug me now.
Well, you know what's funny? Hopefully, this will give you time to think of it. There's a show I watch. I don't know. Some of the language may prevent you from being able to recommend it to some of your students. It's a show on this channel called Watcher. They have a show called Puppet History. There's a blue puppet called the Professor, and there's two people. Um, it's like a joke. They do songs and different things. It's you know, it sounds kiddie, but they talk about a lot of things. In this past season, the first character, the first person in history they talked about was Pythagoras.
Hmm.
Because I've only heard the Pythagorean theorem from Terrence Howard. He brought it up. I have no idea what that is. But they talked about Pythagoras, how he came from well-to-do family. Uh, he was taken as a slave, but because he was so smart and worked with the people who captured him, they let him go free. He started a cult, basically. They hated beans. It was like so much stuff. I was just like, wow. So
Wow.
that is, and I think but I like the way that you did it. You broke it down because I don't. It seems like it seems like every generation that is a thing of how can I take what you're trying to tell me and apply it to my real life?
Yeah.
It's like if I can't, then I don't care. And that once again, like I said, like goes back to a lot of people. Excuse me. Apparently, as soon as I get downstairs, my throat is just real itchy.
Yeah. I found it. It's called
Um,
the desired path or the desired path. Some people call it the cow path. I've never heard it that way. It was called the desired path. That's what I was reading. And basically, if you've ever been at an apartment complex and the apartment complex wants you to walk on the sidewalk, but you see like a little grooved path that people have walked because it's a shorter path, that is the desired path. Or if you've ever been inside of a park and you notice to get from point A to point B, and then there's some small trail that kind of connects them a quicker route. It is called the desired path. And that is nothing but Pythagorean theorem. And I was like, man, it was so dope to see those students like connect the dots and that light bulb comes on their head and they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's the Pythagorean theorem in action. A squared plus B squared equals C squared.
Video games. Any of those students that ever played any type of shooter, there's always the levels, and then there's always that shortcut. It's just like, how can I split this way? Because you think about it, the designers have to include. It's like, okay, we're gonna have these spot, but if they're paying attention, there's also going to be this cutaway to where they can go through a building, or they're going to cut through here or
Yeah.
whatever, instead of going all the way around. That is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And so now imagine those same students the next time they're walking in the mall and they get to like the bigger stores like a Dillard's or something. And instead of following that trail and swinging around Dillard's and going back in a different direction, imagine the next time they just cut through and they make the pathway shorter. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. That's what it is, the desired path. Yeah.
Have you had? How often do you face resistance from the teachers? And like, how there's always one person to where there's something you're trying to implement or something new being brought up,
Mhm.
and they haven't even tried it yet, but they're just so gung ho that something won't work.
Yeah. It reminds me of a comedian. It reminds me of an artist, a singer, songwriter. You're going to get the good 10 seconds. And in those 10 seconds, they need to see, are you worth sticking around? It's the same thing with students, substitute teachers. When a substitute teacher comes in and the substitute teacher only has about 20 seconds to show and prove to the students, to the class, like, I'm here, we gonna work, let's get busy. It's the same when I am facilitating discussion or doing a keynote. So for me, that opening 5 minutes is the most important. I pull out all of my comedic bits. I pull out my story. Who am I? Why am I here? How did I get here? Sometimes it may be a video. Most times it's a picture. I want to show them like, hey, I'm one of those students who wasn't supposed to make it statistically, and I did. And here's how. And I then got to teach other students who weren't supposed to make it statistically, but they did. And here's how. You get that first good 5 minutes. Once again, reminds me of a comedian. Comedian says, hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. And if they're already saying, yeah, and man, people are crazy, and they've already lost, you've lost it. Nah, you got to hit them with a good joke, get the crowd into it. Same with a singer. If you hit that first note and that first note is Rocky at the Apollo, they will boo you out of the gym, out of the place, out of the auditorium, out of the stadium. So you got to come in the same way. Those resistant teachers, it's that same thing. I can look into the audience and I can see if it's like a school, you can kind of tell which ones really don't want to be there. And so now I got to play to you for a little bit. I gotta connect with you. If it's a big stadium or if it's a big auditorium, and that's a little different because now I'm that comedian for the first 5 minutes. I gotta hook you. A friend of mine calls it hook you and cook you. In order to get that fish, you got to dangle out a little something to hook them. And once they're hooked, then you can cook them. And it's that same way. The cool thing is the way I look, the flavor that I give, the energy that I have. I haven't had those rough crowds in a very long time. And I'm grateful and fortunate for that. But at the same time, I still want to stay sharp just in case it does happen. Same with students. A student audience is rougher than teacher audiences. Oh my goodness. Student audiences, whew, you get 2 minutes. So I remember I was talking to some high school, and we're all in the gym. So the gym has the echo and the reverb, and and I'm like, okay, I got 2 minutes. So I can't linger on some of these jokes. These jokes got to be high school, like worthy. Um,
Right.
but the cool thing was they were in Detroit. So I hit them with a what up, though? And they all looked at me strange. And I said, oh, I already got him hooked. I already won. Let's go. Okay, we jumped right into it from there. Yeah, it's so fun to be able to adapt to your audiences, but you're still giving them practical, meaningful conversations, discussions, tips, and tricks. Yeah.
So, well, I know you have somewhere to be. Uh, I want to give you time to get yourself ready. Gonna get back together. I know there's some other things I wanted to pick your brain about a lot of the Department of Education things and whatnot going on. And
Yeah, we can
just
talk about that a little bit real quick if you want. I don't mind.
okay, cool. For those people uh, who aren't aware, Linda McMahon was just recently appointed. What I can't think of the position because I want to say the Secretary of Education.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, because in my mind I keep thinking Department of Education. I'm just like no, but yeah, she's Secretary of Education. I can't think who's worse, her or DeVos, but I guess at least DeVos had some background in education. Uh, and Linda McMahon is the former wife. I don't know if they got divorced. Uh, Wife of Exchange billionaire um, Vince McMahon, co-founder of WWE, and just got to go ahead to try to dismantle the Department of Education. And you have a lot of people who and this election really exposed America as far as media literacy and just um as far as education just kind of exposed us of things that we are ignorant of. A lot of people do have issues with the Department of Education, but most of it is based off of things that the Department of Education actually doesn't do. So, if you would, could you explain to people what the Department of Education is and what they actually do, as opposed to all the things that Trump and his people claim that it does?
Yeah, well, long story short, the Department of Ed um, was founded because there was just not equal all the way around. Certain
Hmm.
districts had more than other districts. Certain states got more than other states. Certain rights were not being upheld. Certain things were being misplaced. And the achievement gap was just atrocious. So you create the Department of Ed to make sure that no students were left behind. And so they created the Department of Ed to make sure no students left behind. And then from there, they created different titles, TITLE. So like Title One, most schools have heard of Title One funding. And basically
Hmm.
what that means in a nutshell is students who may have some economic challenges and they have poverty as barriers. Well, Title One allows them to get certain funds so they can have free or reduced lunch, so they can make sure that there's enough books in the school and different resources so there is not a wide achievement. And then there's all the different titles: Title One, Two, Three, Four, Five, Six, Seven, Eight, Nine. Title Nine, one for gender, just making sure that it is equity for women. One of the major things or components of Title IX is when we were growing up, The girls always played their sport first, then the boys played their sport second. And how it always was. Well, title not really early game. So let's flip it. Let's switch it. And they're just trying their best to have equity, which is one of the key buzzwords. Some of the other titles talk about rural education. And if you are in rural areas, that bus doesn't come to you as fast as the city bus, or there may not be software or internet. So how do we make sure that our rural students are still learning? Another title, I can't remember which number it is, but another one talks about the students who are unhoused and they are living in foster care, or they just barriers. How do we stop these barriers and help these students as best as possible? Another title is for teachers. We have new technology. We got to be able to train the teachers. So how do we keep the teachers updated with these technologies? Another one is foreign language. For the students who don't live as English as their primary language, how can we overcome that barrier and make sure that that achievement gap is closing? So what systems can we put in place? What things can we do to shrink those gaps? Well, if the Department of Ed is gone, then the states will get that money. And the Department of Ed was like a checkpoint based on which cities, which towns, which districts would get X amount of dollars for the things. If that barrier is gone, then the states get the money and they get to decide who gets what funding. So there's another act called the IDEA, Individuals Disability Educational Act. And that comes from federal funding. And so if all of that money is gone, or if the department is wiped out, or if there are no checkpoints in place, then how do we know that all the students are going to get the money that they rightfully need to close the achievement gaps? So some of the conversations I've been having with leaders, and I'm trying to tread carefully here, is exactly that. If or when it is disabled, if or when it is disbanded, if or when it is demolished, if or when, will you do right by the people that live in your city? Will you do right by the people who live in your region? Because Oklahoma could get, let's say, if Oklahoma got $900 million from federal funding, certain people could very well say, we're just going to get that 900 million to the biggest and best schools of Oklahoma so then they can have bigger campuses. And that's fine, because a lot of the schools, they're running out of space. They're in portables outside. They're not in physical buildings. And that is a concern. That is the issue. But if you give $900 million to those schools, what about the schools who really need it? What about the rural schools in the panhandle that get hit by the winter snow all of the time because they're right next to Colorado? They're right next to the Rocky Mountains. Of course they're going to, how do we make sure that they are served well? What about the students who need those buses with the lifts so their wheelchairs and other things can be placed with seatbelts? Like, all of this matters. And that's the good trouble that so many educators are doing. They're still fighting this because this is a little different. This is wild. This is crazy to say we want to just put, bless her heart, our new Secretary of Education was in the middle of an interview and she didn't even know what IDEA was. Okay. And that's like education 101. You can't be an administrator without going through extensive acronym classes, because education, we're full of acronyms. And if you don't know the right acronym, you're gonna think the wrong thing. I'll say one more thing, and I'll shut up. I feel like I was talking a lot. I remember I was
No,
at a
you
teacher
good.
panel. I was at a teacher panel, and they invited, parents to come, and the parents were screaming and arguing because they were talking about CRT. And how dare you teach CRT in these schools? And I'm on the panel, and no one is replying or responding. So I kind of look at the panel, and I was like, "Hey, you mind if I talk?" They're like, "Yeah, go for it." And it's like, "Yeah, you shouldn't be teaching CRT, critical race theory in the elementary K-12 schools shouldn't have CRT." And I paused and I said, "You know what? You're correct. We are teaching CRT in schools." And now, I mean, just uproar. I can't see it. I can walk, all that good stuff. And I paused and I waited a little bit until they settled down. And I said, "But see, the thing that you all don't realize is we as educators have acronyms for everything. And one thing we as educators can do better is to give you a thesaurus and a dictionary and an explanation of these acronyms. Because yes, we do teach CRT, but not critical race theory. We teach culturally responsive teaching." And then I explained to them what that means. If you have a classroom full of students who love rap, it would be idiotic of you to tell them to be quiet and not use rap to their advantage. If you have students who love to draw, but every lesson is research based and you never give them a chance to draw out what they feel, draw out what they hear, draw a setting from a book, that's being culturally responsive. It is the culture, they love drawing. So I'm going to include art inside of my lessons because I'm trying to connect with them. If they love wrestling, then I'm going to need to learn who is John Cena and why he turned a bad guy and why is it called a heel versus a face, because I'm trying to connect to the generation. So once when I explained it to the parents, a hush came over the room and I said, "This is the conversation we should be having. We as parents got to do a better job and give our teachers grace because everybody is trying to do their best to serve your students. We as teachers got to do a better job explaining these acronyms because there's billions of was not billions, but there's a lot of acronyms. And depending on the region, depending on the city, depending on the town you are in, those acronyms change. And those are the conversations that we need to have. I am cautiously optimistic in hopes that they will not disband the Department of Education. Because if they disband the Department of Education, you're not just hurting our students farthest from opportunity. You're not just hurting our students in the hood who deal with severe poverty. You're going to end up hurting so many more students, so many more. And those students who need the special bus to come to their house to pick them up, they won't have that bus anymore. The students who have specific classes and schools to attend because the learning at the public school isn't enough, or there isn't enough support and resources for students who have seizures. Like it's so much bigger than we taking away from Black or brown students, or we're taking away from gender or those who don't identify as any gender. It is so much bigger than that. And I'm really hoping that uh, cooler heads prevail. Now, if they don't prevail, the achievement gap has widened by 900%. And those who have will have, and those who have not lose. But God
I
bless the
just,
child who's got it all, who's got it all.
yeah, that's the thing. I just think about it. It's like, yeah, we have all these people whose children and well, little man's children are grown, but grandchildren will never have to deal with this because more than likely they have private schools. They have the money and resources to where this doesn't touch them. And it's frustrating seeing people who really truly don't have to experience the consequences of the actions that they are taking, those consequences won't really touch them in a way. At the most, they just won't have, for certain people, they just won't get reelected. But as far as the damage to the children, they won't experience that because their kids are somewhere else. Um, and I'll just say this, and like I said, I'll let you go. It did remind me of a lot of stuff that they're talking about, to where, if they give the money to the states, it's just like, oh, they give the money to the states. I have a feeling that some people are just going to do what we see done on a national level, and that is do more to help the people who actually don't need as much help.
Yeah.
And then when the schools that do need help, when they fail, they'll say, well, look, they just didn't try as hard,
Yeah.
not acknowledging how they handicapped them from the get go. And I do have a feeling, because my wife used to be a teacher, I do have a feeling a lot of people who have had issues with funding and other stuff, instead of saying, yeah, we need to do this better, um, taking a hatchet to something that needs a scalpel,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. And even with the checks and balances that we currently have, inequities still happen. I
Right.
rock hard with my HBCU here in Oklahoma called Langston University. It's the same
Mhm.
school Charlie Wilson, the Gap Band, attended. Betsy Coleman attended Langston University. Jennifer Hudson went to Langston University for one semester while I was there. So I rock hard with Langston University. And even with those checks and balances from the federal government, Langston University is owed $400 million that they never received over the span of, I think, decades. And that
What
money went somewhere else.
what was the name? What was the? Oh my God. Okay, I'm sorry. Tell your wife I'm sorry. I really try to get, because now I'm thinking too. What was the name of that HBCU? They owed them money. They owed them money, and then when they confronted them about the money they owed them, they punished the board basically. And it was funny because even a white Republican pointed out how the optics of this looked very wrong. They got rid of all the black board members to replace them so they can, figure out how to hand out this money that they were delayed on getting. I cannot remember the name of that college, but yeah, it's some stuff like that. It's like, yeah, we owe you money, we didn't give it to you. Um, that's why whenever something does come up, when people say, "Well, what did Biden do?" I'm like, he gave. I want to say the last time I checked, I want to say it's close to 80 billion or $117 billion to HBCUs. Instead of just zeroing out, he's given more money to HBCUs than any president.
Yeah.
And because, yeah, it is, our colleges do so often just get overlooked. And, and then they get overlooked. And then when they're brought up, they're saying, well, they're not as prestigious as those other colleges. And it's just like, well, what do those other colleges have that they don't? And they'll talk
Yep.
about different programs, and they'll be like, how much of this boils down to them not being funded as well with the money that they're owed. We're not talking
Yeah.
about handouts. We're talking about money that they are already owed, that they have not been given.
Right. And that's the
And
land grant. It was 13 billion total over X amount of HBCUs, over X amount of colleges. So I'm looking here: Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, Missouri, Oklahoma, South Carolina, North Carolina, Texas, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. They all got sent letters. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16 different schools that should have split that 13 billion over 3 decades. Now, at some of our bigger state colleges, 13 billion ain't a whole lot of money for them because they have endowments, they have funding, they have deep pockets, they have owners, and donors who could give $1 million easily per semester and wouldn't hurt. But my Langston University, $400 million would have gone a long way. And
sorry.
how do you get that money? You don't get that money.
Real quick, it was 16 billion in total.
Yeah.
Investments that Biden signed up for with different things. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Dude.
No, you're right. So if if with federal grants and with federal funding, things still fall through the crack.
Right.
And inequities still happen. And over 3 decades, certain schools don't get the funding that they rightfully deserve. What is going to happen to the public education? What's going to happen to who aren't able to get into a private school? Like, I'm all for whatever school best serves kids, whether it be a charter school, an independent school, a public school, a private school. I don't care which school it is, as long as the kids can get served. But there's a cap on private school. We have a private school here in Oklahoma City, and it's a very popular school. And I had the opportunity to talk to their students there, and it's an amazing school, but they cannot hold 4,000 students. And even if they did hold 4,000 students, there's still so many other students left behind that didn't get in. So you got to find alternative schools like a charter school. But even a charter school, if you let a charter school have 10,000 students, there's still a whole nother 40, 50,000 that didn't get in. Same with private schools or Christian schools or Catholic schools, or you got to have public schools. And what happens is if you end up giving all the money to the best schools, in air quotes, or the schools that have the A star or whatever you want to frame it, then the achievement gaps get bigger, because those schools aren't in rural Oklahoma. Those schools aren't in the Panhandle. Those schools aren't in the southeast of Oklahoma by the mountains. You got to have a balance. You got to have checks and balances. So I'm really hoping and cautiously optimistic that they will do right by this generation. Because if they don't, then 10 years, 15 years down the line, they're going to be complaining that generation can't do anything. Why is Generation Alpha and Beta so terrible? That's because you're messing with them right now. And you messed them up on purpose. So I'm hopeful, and we're going to keep that good trouble just for that reason. We're going to keep speaking the truth and power, even though we can't say certain phrases and certain words. We're just going to reclaim them and use different verbiage. Like, I don't say DEI. I say diversity. I call it out inclusion, because inclusion means our students who are in special ed get included in the lessons. They don't always stay in their special ed classrooms. They get to go to other classrooms to interact. That is inclusion. That's the IDEA Act all over again. Equity, it's the same way. I don't mind saying those words, but I also say belonging, because belonging is the same thing. So if you tell me I can't say DEI anymore, it's all good. I'm going to say togetherness. So I'm going to use synonyms, because that's what we do as teachers. We adapt very well, and we keep the party rocking. So here's hoping that there are so many others who continue that fight. Here's hoping that so many others continue to speak up and don't just let the bad guys win in terms of them not serving all students.
The college was TSU. Tennessee lawmakers, the trustees of Tennessee's only publicly funded historically Black university. This was back in March of last year. signing a law. They were all removed, and the board, the legislators are tasked with uh, bringing in all new people, and
Mm,
I'm pretty sure it's going to be people who aren't, as you say, culturally responsive or tuned to the students and just the culture of that university as the people who are already there after, like as I said, after being denied the money.
yeah.
But like you said, hopefully optimistic, get into good trouble. Thank you again. I know I kept you longer than I wanted to because other stuff going on, but yeah, this is what I really just wanted to get into, just
Yeah.
the
Yeah. I
different
get
stuff. Yeah, the different stuff of how people are upset. And it's just like, well, we want to decide what our students learn. It's like you already do that at the state level. You're just not showing up. So figure out what you're doing wrong, and you know, and hopefully it's not, because as you said, that's just okay. I'll say this and I'm gonna leave because
you.
it's
And I was
so
gonna say I've got an action step for your listeners as well. So I'll let you finish and then I'll give an action step what you can do.
so much. We're seeing so much FAFO going on. It is not even funny. So many people in champion this, we're seeing so many people had come into the realization of I was fine with it until I realized it was going to hurt me. I was fine with them kicking these people out because I thought they would see that I'm one of the good ones and I wouldn't get kicked out. I was fine of them cutting waste and doing whatever. Then I find out I got fired from my job because they said for performance, and they always said I was a great worker. Uh, or I got fired and my job isn't really funded by the government, so I'm not sure how they feel they have the right to fire me anyway. Or, I wanted the price of this to go down, but it seems like the price is going to go up because um, we're going to have to pay extras because of a tariff, or stuff is going to have to go up because the people who were working to provide this food, to provide this service, I said I wanted them kicked out, and nobody I know is going to do that work for the price that those people were getting paid. We're not doing that. I'm not going out there and picking that food. I literally heard stories of people, truck drivers. Um, my cousin drives trucks and does things like that, to where normally they have a certain amount of pallets, and for some of the stuff they've canceled the order altogether because there's not enough to load the truck. And it's a thing of, I thought just these people were going to be hurt. Now I'm finding out I'm hurt too. You talked about DEI. People are finding out. Well, yeah, some people are finding out because a lot of us already knew. Majority of that benefit is white women. Uh, People are finding out that veterans are DEI. DEI does not mean black. It means diversity, equity, inclusion. I think for some of them they put an A on the end too, because, but yeah, it's a lot of different things. Of, as you said, it's not going to be just the black and brown kids who are hurt. People
Yeah.
like my son who has an IEP, and I don't even think Miss McMahon knew what an IEP was, and all the people like him, all the parents who worried about, who like myself are already worried, who already have in mind. I know that my son is going to, for better or worse, probably end up living with us for the rest of his life. Um, if God sees it differently, whatever he needs, whatever support, I will give it to him to the best of my ability. If it's just building just an apartment or whatever in the back of wherever the hell we're staying at, so that he can at least have his own whatever. But stripping away the education that he has now or making it harder. He already has difficulty understanding things like concepts such as on top or below.
Mhm.
I was going through some issues yesterday, and I was like, okay, I need my water bottle. And he was trying so hard to figure out what I needed. He was getting his water bottle, but he didn't have any water in it. He was giving me this tea. I'm just like, the tea's not going to help me. I need some water. I need to get rehydrated. And I had my water bottle. I'm like, Daniel, blue, but his is blue. And it was a thing of just helping with just little things like that
Yeah.
and taking away the extra time that is needed for somebody like that so that they can succeed. We're not saying that equity that does not mean that we think that everybody's going to have the same outcome.
Yeah.
What we're saying is, like I said before, don't kneecap us at the beginning and then act as if you didn't do anything. I believe Dr. King said it best. It is cruel to tell someone, a bootless man, to pull up his bootstraps. So I'll leave the last word for you.
Yeah. Some action steps for parents or for constituents or just community members. Continue to teach what you know is the real truth. If they say you can no longer have Hispanic History Month or Black History Month, you know how important it really is. Go ahead and go to your local library. Ask your local librarian what books do they recommend. They love stuff like that. Ask your teachers. They still love stuff like that. Like, don't just stop it just because it is officially stopped. Go ahead and tell the truth. Go ahead and teach the truth. If not, YouTube and TikTok will do it, unless TikTok is banned. YouTube will do it. I always say there are great teachers. Find the great teachers in the schools. You're going to at least have two per school, no matter which school it is. It could be one of the worst deemed schools in America. You will still have at least two good, great teachers. Ask them for recommendations. What can you do to continue to help all students learn? I guarantee you they will help you. So that would be my advice in getting into good trouble. The second advice would be when you hear people bad mouthing teachers and education, speak up for us. We fighting hard. We really are. We're fighting the battles that you don't see. So go to bat with us. We really are trying our best to make sure every student is served well, served equitably. We're really trying. So go to bat for us. We're all in this together. The end goal is we want the students to learn. That's every teacher nationwide. By the end of the school year, we want your student to be a better person. We want to help impart knowledge, skills, standards, expectations, all those things with your student. We're on the same team. So please fight with us when we need that help. Those will be the two things that I would suggest.
All
And for
right.
those who pray, pray, because wish as well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my colleagues are quitting because they're just tired of the fight. And I get it. And I can't fault them for it as well. So just when you think about a teacher, give them some love, give them a hug, give them a gift card before Teacher Appreciation Week. Just let them know that you appreciate them really fighting for your students.
Yeah, we try to do that. Give gift cards from this local market. They have great cookies and all this other stuff. So yeah, we try to do that. Yeah, I remember my wife working and having to spend money for stuff, and it's like like it's not guaranteed to get reimbursed. But even if it does, it's just like, why isn't this something that is already taken care of?
Yeah.
Uh, but like I said, you got things to do. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for
Thanks.
giving people things to do, things to look for. As you said, to continue going. I will also say education doesn't stop just because the kids aren't in school.
Mhm.
Um, they're always learning from you. Uh, and, it helps to watch them grow, watch them learn. Uh, and maybe you two can learn something together.
Yeah.
Uh, you are definitely right. There are some great educators to be found on YouTube. I've learned, like I've talked about the puppet history thing. There's so much of random bits of history I've learned from that funny show. Um, I've watched a lot of video essays. That's one of my things I love to do, to just learn about different things in history that I didn't know about, to get a different view of things. And uh, as we see, what was it? Arlington, the website, they've taken away information on Black soldiers, men and women that were there. So get it how you can.
Yeah.
Because if they have their way with it, they will literally whitewash history and nobody would know the difference. But appreciate you. Apologize to your wife
Yeah.
for me.
Oh
Uh,
no, she's good. It's spring break week. We good.
okay.
Yeah, we good. It's spring break week this week. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It really is. So, thankfully, thank you for your time. I always appreciate you coming on, dropping
Yeah.
knowledge. I always appreciate seeing you doing things and be
Yeah, I
like, I know
appreciate
that dude. It's like I know him. I get to point him out. Be like, yeah,
it.
that's one of my dope friends. I know that man. I can claim you as if I had a hand in it. But I'm like, yeah, I know him. I've talked to him before. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's appreciative to have people um, who are knowledgeable, who not just like to talk about a thing, but to actually have expertise in it. Because those are two different things. I
Yeah.
can talk about a lot of stuff, but the stuff I like to talk about the most, things that I actually have, things I can actually say, I know this for a fact because I've read this or I've done this. I have expertise in it. That's a completely different conversation than somebody in just saying, "Oh man, have you heard about so and so?" I heard a great quote from a new political guy I've been following. He said, "Just because how you put it is like just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's a conspiracy." And I just think
Yeah.
about that in a lot of stuff that we talk about. In Yeah, it's not a conspiracy just because you don't know how it works.
Right.
And that's the thing, people don't understand something. It's like, oh, they're trying to do this. It's just like it's just a misunderstanding of you not knowing what this and this does. So I think if we could do that, if we give support to the teachers, give support to lawmakers who you see are actually doing stuff for us. A lot of time we give a lot of crap to people and we don't realize that, we haven't really supported them. It takes more than just voting them in. It's like, okay, well, are they actually doing anything? When certain proposals came up, are you voting for the things that actually are going to help you and your community?
Yeah.
Uh, are you getting the word out? Are you at least sharing information that you see? Are you at least, um, talking well, or are you doing something else? Are you having conversations like this so that not only are you educated, but other people are educated? Um, you know, not everybody, you know, not everybody can be a revolutionary, and that's not everybody's role. That's not everybody's
Yeah.
temperament. But are you at least doing all that you can do? And that's all you can do. Uh, we can't be we can't be so eager to push people to do things that we ourselves are not willing to do in
Yeah.
some capacity. And as usual, applies back to kids. You can't push kids to learn something and you be so stuck in who you are and the way things have done, or way that you think things should be, that you don't pay attention to where they are now, and you are dismissive of their their reality right now. And you say, "Well, I don't care about all that stuff." It's like, well, if that's the stuff that matters to me, then you just told me you don't care about me. So why should I listen to you? Why should I care
Yep.
about what you're saying? Why should I uh, be invested in this when you've already told me that you don't care about me past how it affects you? And I know I said
Yep.
I'm going to quit, so I'm just going to stop talking right now before I keep going another 10 minutes. Uh, but yeah, so tell the people where they can find you.
Yes, I am online, all spaces, uh, wherever your online search engine is or your online social media place is. Andre Dowdy, AndreDaughty.
And he said his price is his price. If he goes there and he's speaking, you saw what numbers was after that sign. Don't come to me talking about other stuff. It's like, nah, you saw the price. Don't try to give me no Girl Scout cookies or some other stuff. I got some apple crown roll. I don't even drink. It's like, give me
Yeah.
my price. But thank you so much once again. Sorry for the time discrepancy. Because as I always like to say, time is so important. We've talked about it in various ways on this just alone, just how you regret, how you appreciate spending time with family and loved ones, because you
Mm-hmm.
don't know when you'll get to that point to where you'll never have a chance to tell them I love you, or you'll never have another chance to say, um, just to say, hey, how you doing? There will come a point to where, when you talk about morbid, I heard somebody say this, like, you will never know, some people will never know when the last time they will speak to somebody.
Yeah.
You can speak to somebody and something will happen, and then you'll be like, I wish I would have said this. I wish I would have done this. There was so many other things he could have been doing right now, but he saw fit to spend this hour talking with me, and I am greatly appreciative. It is so important to me that people understand, like I said, how grateful I am that people take the time out their day to do this. I don't have it on me right now. And I'm gonna say right now because at one point I will be able to. I don't have the means right now to pay anybody to sit and talk to me.
Yeah.
They do this because they want to, because they are generous enough of their time to do this. So I am so appreciative for anyone that says, hey, yeah, I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you about this. We can rap about whatever. That is a blessing, because you could be doing anything else. You'll never get this time back. So I'm grateful to the people who listen. I'm grateful to the people who come on and just love you all. Bold Expressions, BLD Expressions, Twitter and Instagram. I'm not so much on Twitter anymore because, uh, I thought about joining Blue Sky or Threads, but I don't know. I'll only go in there just to share little things. But yeah, Facebook under Carl Liggins. You can check out my YouTube page, Bold Expressions Podcast. Email me, boldexpressions, the number 4 at gmail.com. Have a good day, good morning, good evening, whatever you're listening to or watching this. And as always, don't be so busy proving your point that you forget your purpose.